Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys the new Wraith King build. It is a mid-game oriented Wraith King right-click build that revolves around Armlet and Deso. It's a much earlier timing than the standard Radiance build that has been popular for a very long time, and I thought this is a perfect game to go and talk about this build. This is also a great Wraith King game in a couple of ways. To be fair, the enemy team is very high mobility, and so if you were to go a Radiance-oriented build in a game like this, odds are you're likely going to get kited out, and by the time you get online, they also get online, and you're going to get kited. So instead, he goes Armlet Deso, runs over the mid-game, and let's talk about how you can do the same. By the way, guys, if you want to become absolutely broken, well, what you need to do is sign up to the GameLeap website down below right now. The reason why you should do that is because every single day we post a new video there. Content that you simply just will never get on YouTube, we post every single day to the website. It's really top tier stuff. I'm very proud of what I make over there. We also have other creators, many of my great friends who are top tier Dota players, creating guides about different heroes, different roles, different items, skill builds, talent builds, everything you need to know to get to the next rank. So if you feel a little bit lost, you're a little bit stuck, click the link down below. I'll see you guys there. And now let's get into the video. Alright, so I'm going to cover the laning stage very briefly. I want to just give you guys the basics on what you need to do to own with this hero in the lane. Because I know a lot of people, when I watch the Wraith King gameplay, even when I have a friend that I coach who's on the higher MR side, even he struggled with like sticking to the game plan. Guys, stick to the game plan I'm going to give you. You'll do much better, okay? Early levels, don't do a lot, okay? I want you to take a quick look at Wraith King's armor. It's 2! I also want you to quickly read these stats. That's a 1-second stun. It's shit. This hero's not good at level 1, okay? Don't trade hard at level 1. Mostly play for CS. You can throw a casual stun to help your support trade. For instance, if Pugna was trading here and Earthspear was trading here, yeah, he could throw a stun, help at the Pugna a little bit. Other than that, just chill, okay? Chill. I honestly don't even know why he walked up so far there. I think it was maybe to try to get the deny, which he did get. So chill, okay? This is a very difficult lane. Battle Rider is good against Wraith King, and yeah, you want to play for your skeletons. On the note of playing for his skeletons, he's even willing to use stun to secure range creeps. Generally, you do not want to stun the range creep when going for the range creep, which might sound weird, but you want to stun the opponent. Usually you use nukes to secure the range creep. You do it kind of the other way here. You want to throw it at the opponent because, well, it's a stun and it's very low damage. It's only 60 damage. That is actually quite a bit less than your auto attack. So yeah, you want to stun the opponent and then secure the creep. Moving ahead, your biggest spike is when you build up charges at level 3. You should be going 1-2-0 almost every single game. And what this enables you to do is when you have 4 skeletons, go very aggressive. Now in this clip here, he ends up getting gone on, not surprisingly. Bat Rider's spike is also level 3, so it kind of clashes here. You can see as he gets gone on, he has the very good reaction of panic popping skeletons and then stunning. And how the skeletons work is whoever you stun, they attack. And against the ranged heroes like Bat Rider, they do actually a ton of damage. So Wraith King can actually be decent against Bat Rider. Honestly, Pugna kind of sucks with Wraith King. This is a bit of an unfortunate lane, I'd say, because there's absolutely no synergy between the two heroes. So maybe if he had a stun, they would have been able to trade out here. But you can see Bat Rider, very strong hero. Even with stacks built up, he's able to turn. And you can imagine that it goes even further than this. If you are strong enough to actually go on the enemy when you build up 3 or 4 skeleton charges, you should, and you'll often kill them with a +1. Now, the reason why this replay of this rank 3 player, 23 Savage, many of you guys know who he is so perfect is because he's 1 and 2 coming into the laning stage. However, his CS is still pretty decent. So you're going to notice he's actually top 3 net worth, even with the current score of 1 and 2, which is why I'm always emphasizing CS. Kills should be an added benefit to the lane if you understand your spikes, right? Obviously, sometimes heroes are just consistently stronger, such as Troll, but Wraith King, it's the skeletons. Now, in this laning stage, very hard game, right? Easily ganked by Quap, easily ganked by Weaver, Earth Spirit, very high tempo heroes that are good against Wraith King. So what do you want to do in this case? Well, you want to optimally build up 4 to 6 skeletons, optimally 6 if you have the opportunity. Then you want to spawn them and kill the camp. I highly recommend you go the exact items he goes as well, which is Phase Boots with a wand, right? When obviously wand against Bat Rider, but it's almost always good anyway for the mid game, even the laning stage. Into Phase Boots, into Gloves of Haste, into Blight. Actually, he even buys the Blight before Phase Boots and before the Gloves of Haste. This is because it's just super good with skeletons. I think it's an incredibly undervalued item. I even think Orb of Corrosion is good. However, consider you're going Deso later on, the casual Blight is better than Corrosion because you'll eventually build it into the Deso. Now, as you farm the small camp, this is what you want to do on either side. You farm up the small camp. To be fair, if you're on Radiant, sometimes you can farm the large camp into the small camp. Either way, you just want to farm the nearby camp, depending on how dangerous it is, right? Obviously, if the enemy is here, then you probably just want to farm small camp over, and you do the same thing on this side. Now, a big thing you can do is use your courier to provide vision. So the skeletons run to the nearest unit, that's how they work, or they run to what you stun. And so he uses his courier to make sure that the skeletons don't run to the lane. You don't want them to go to lane. You want to use skeletons in your early game almost solely to jungle. And the reason for that is they die too easily in the lane. A lot of heroes just have easy nukes that clear them out. Not all, so sometimes you can send them down the lane, but for the most part, being able to wipe through the jungle is really nice. You jungle extremely quickly as Wraith King with a couple of skeletons in the jungle. On top of that, I want to know one more thing before we move on to the mid game. He is intentionally last hitting while jungling. The skeletons will not build you more charges. So if you just brainlessly auto attack in the jungle as Wraith King, you are throwing because you will not build up charges. You have to intentionally last hit, as you'll see here. He intentionally last hits each and every creep so that he can build up even more charges. Now let's briefly talk about why Armlet is such a busted item on Wraith King. Number one, the HP drain from Armlet that a lot of you guys probably are scared of when it comes to buying this item. It's almost unnoticeable on Wraith King. This hero's lifesteal is so powerful. Coming in at 34% lifesteal, you never have problems with sustain in the jungle. On top of that, it is by far the highest DPS early game item on Wraith King. There is no other item that lets you jungle and fight better than this item on Wraith King. It is that good. Why? It gives 15 damage base, quite high, 25 attack speed, quite high. The active gives 35 damage, an extra 25 strength, which brings this item up to a 75 damage item, okay? 75. Armlet is a 2,500 gold item. Radiance is double the cost, more than double the cost, and gives less auto attack damage by a long shot, considering you don't get attack speed. This is why the Armlet timing, in my opinion, is just significantly better at this point in time. It lets you play faster and, frankly, focus people down. I also don't even think the Radiance active is honestly that good, unless you have a very clear reason for it. If the enemy team is primarily physical, or you have to deal with illusions. But even if you do have to deal with illusions, you at least now have a cleave talent, or you can out-tempo them with this Armlet Deso build. Basically, before I go into, the Deso timing in a couple of fights, you just have to understand. You might be like, oh, but maybe I should go Radiance if I'm against a Peel or a Naga or a Terrorblade. No, you don't have to. Reason being is the problem with doing that is Radiance in the mid to late game is not good enough to deal with illusion heroes for the most part. It's not. It doesn't do enough, okay? The miss chance is decent, all right? But the thing is, most of these illusion heroes have a weak early game, especially Naga and Peel, have a very weak early game. And so instead of worrying about them, you can actually just kill their entire team in the early to mid game, get so far ahead where they are stranded, right? The Peel might be top net worth, but he is stranded. His teammates are going to be so far behind due to your gameplay that it's not going to matter. On top of that, these heroes, these illusion heroes, actually die to right clicks in the early game. They don't in the mid to late game because it's too hard to figure out which one's real or even just hit them in general with their butterflies and Scotties and so on. So you can actually kill them in the early game with Deso. And let's take a look at our first major fight of the game. Just in general, when you're farming, I want to keep in mind, just always keep it on when you're auto attacking. But let's get into our first fight. So the enemy team looks to dive mid here. Anytime the enemy team is going to dive a tower and you have Armlet, I recommend you show up. I do. However, outside of that, I don't recommend you run around on the enemy side of the map. A lot of people are going to take this video and bring it the wrong way. They're going to say, oh, this is the early game fighting build, and that means I should have like 90 CS at minute 20, and I should be 14-0 at minute 15. It's like, no, don't do that. Still look at his score. We're 16 minutes in here. He's playing practically the same way he would play as if he was going Radiance. He's farming. He's top net worth. Okay, this is what you want to do. Abuse the fact that your hero farms faster than anyone else in the early game. Really, Wraith King is probably a top 5 early game farmer. He's that good. And so you can see he's pushing in waves, pushing in waves, pushing in waves, sends skeletons, and actually he's just going to TP mid, even just to defend the tower. And you can do this with these items because of how strong you are. Look at this damage onto the Quap here. Pretty insane, right? If he got his crit up, he would have actually killed her. And that's the power of this build. Most people just can't fight you. The next thing I want to note is when he does get his Deso timing, he's actually incentivizing his team to invade the enemy jungle and play up. And this is what I recommend you do too. Because the thing is, you're going to get outscaled by AM. Your hero isn't the best in the late game. It's just not. And so you do want to put pressure on these timings. So he actually invades the enemy jungle here looking to play up. And this is where your hero becomes scary. Unfortunately, he gets clipped in this fight. But you can even see I don't know why the Earth Spirit ends up rolling on him, but he does. And you're going to notice the damage that he does. One crit, look at this. it's like a fourth of people's HP. And, you know, Earth Spirit's a pretty tanky hero, right? It's a pretty tanky hero. He's got armor from Urn, and he still is just going to chunk him down. So you can imagine against heroes like Shaman, just, you know, if you have like a Snapfire on your team to reduce armor, or a Slardar, which he does this game, you can actually just insta-kill people, and it's really powerful. The next thing that's good about it is it's significantly better at Roshing than the Radiance build. The Radiance build, frankly, is not good at Roshing at all. It's really expensive, and by the time you get Radiance, a lot of the time, Rosh is just too tanky, right? Because as the game progresses, Rosh becomes strong, and that's how it works. But with the help of his Armlet, Deso, and Slardar, they're able to take a very early 21-minute Rosh, even though Wraith King is not the best Roshan hero. He's just not. But they're able to clean it up. And this is going to be the first example of a very convincing fight as Wraith King. Let's see how he does it. So as he goes in, he's going to blink on the Batrider. Batrider is definitely a very good target. If we click on Batrider, we'll note that this is a very, very low armor hero. At 9 armor, Batrider has an embarrassing amount of armor. And so anytime you can bring a hero close to 0, that is when Wraith King chunks, right? That is when Wraith King chunks. So he goes in, 1 crit onto the bat is about a fourth of his HP, very powerful, and your attack speed is quite high. So he's able to commit on the bat. And what's really important to note here as well is he's tanking up a lot of the attention, right? He's able to go in, enable the Dawnbreaker ulti, take all the spells from the Earth Spirit, tank a bunch of the spells from the Batrider, or at least to disengage from the Batrider, and eventually crit this guy down as well. As the fight continues on, his ulti unfortunately gets popped, but notice how much damage he's going to do to the Anti-Mage here. Anti-Mage is also not that high of an armor carry, at least in the early game, and he's able to chunk down the Anti-Mage with only a bit of help from his teammates and 4 auto attacks, and that is why I love this build. It prevents you from getting to this awkward late game timing as Wraith King that this hero often loses, and it really abuses the fact that Wraith King is one of the best mid-game heroes in Dota. I do want to note though, as I briefly go from fight to fight within this video, he is farming a lot. He's even farming his triangle defensively. I know a lot of people are going to get this wrong, and they're going to say, oh, I have my Deso timing. Go, 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 go until the game ends. You're going to fall off very quickly if this happens. Don't feel like you don't scale. You scale fine, okay? You might not scale great to minute 60, but you scale fine to 30, 40, 50. Well, 50 is getting a little bit late. You get the point. You scale okay. Don't panic. In terms of your next item, after the Deso, you want to go Blink, which he had last fight. After that, I really like this Silver Edge. Even though it's a great game for him to go BKB, which he'll actually buy before the Silver Edge, he ends up going Shadow Blade into Silver Edge. Shadow Blade is just so nice on Wraith King. It lets you play the side lanes very aggressively, which you're great at because you have skeletons. You know, you're naturally a pretty high pickoff hero, even kicking AM out of the jungle. Look at that. Right, did half of AM's HP in 1 stun duration. Pretty crazy. And kills his courier. Oh, no Skull Basher, you love to see it. Wraith King's really good at this pick-off playstyle, especially with these items. You can solo kill a lot of heroes running down side lanes, especially if it's a support. And you'll get a lot of farm this way. So he's shoving in the waves, right, clearing through the jungle, kicking AM out of the jungle, basically just enabling so much space for not only himself, but also his team here. Also, to briefly talk about talents, at level 10, he's going to take movement speed. This might seem a little bit weird. The thing is, you get kited with this build, right? The thing about the Radiance build is even if you get kited, you're still doing damage, but with this build, you obviously need to be hitting people, so I recommend taking the 20 movement speed like he does. Also, you have plenty of attack speed with Armlet and Shadow Blade, so that generally isn't too much of a problem. At level 15, he takes the Wraithfire stun damage, stun duration. It's 0.7 extra, it's actually a lot. It brings your stun from a 2-second stun to 2.7, which is very, very significant. And at level 20, he takes Cleave, just better for farming, better for cleaving. Honestly, I do actually like these skeleton talents a lot. I think players undervalue them, especially considering they're buying AC in the late game. It's really nice for shoving waves and sieging, but the safer build is definitely taking all of the talents on the right. At level 25, the Mortal Strike cooldown is definitely a necessity with such a heavy right-click build. Alright, and to end off the video, let's take a look at the last set of High Ground Siege. I also like his neutral item here, going for the Flicker. So good this game against Earth Spirit, but primarily against Batrider. Even against Quab, such a good Flicker game. Being able to purge all of these abilities on a 5-second cooldown and get movement speed, I believe it's 35 movement speed? Yeah, is so freaking good on Wraith King because this hero naturally gets kited by these slows very hard, so it is such a good game for this item. So keep that in mind. He also even managed to blink dodge the Earth Spirit roll, and look at this damage. You really, you just chunk people down. right? You're not going to insta-kill them like you will in the early game, but you're going to chunk people down very hard. And the thing is, almost no one wants to man up to you, right? Because you have so much lifesteal and just pure DPS items that you can afford to go because you have 2 lives and built-in lifesteal and built-in crit. So you just, yeah, you man up really, really well. And oh my god, look at that quap. Oh god. That quap, I mean, she just gets decimated, dude. Look at this. She's, oh. Actually 3-shot, so you can see, minus armor, really good with this build. Definitely think heroes like Slaughter, Snapfire, Dazzle. Honestly, Wraith King Dazzle is probably a really, really good combo. Definitely good in lane, wins lane. Dazzle goes Medallion, reduces armor with ulti. I can see that being really strong, so maybe I'll have to give that a shot. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and give this build a shot. Let me know how it goes over Discord if you do, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace! And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.